there, and welcome to the Click.Speak.Repeat podcast, the place where grammar meets real life. In every episode, we'll explore the way people actually speak English. Not textbook sentences, but real conversations, useful phrases, and grammar that makes sense. Whether you're just starting out or building confidence, you're in the right place. Let's jump in and talk real English.
I am ready. And today we're talking about something that is technically grammar, but honestly, it feels a lot more like psychology.
Oh, I like where this is going already. We're talking about demonstratives today. Now, before anyone tunes out, because that sounds like a chapter from a dusty textbook, we're talking about the words this, that, these, and those.
Right. And on the surface, they seem like, the simplest words in the dictionary. But if you dig a little deeper, these 4 words are basically the GPS system of the English language. They are how we orient ourselves and our listeners in the universe.
It's so true. I was thinking about this earlier. Without these words, you're essentially paralyzed. You can't distinguish the coffee in your hand from the coffee across the room. You can't tell a story about that guy you met yesterday versus this guy standing next to you. You just lose the ability to point.
Exactly. And the stakes are actually higher than just pointing at coffee. We're going to talk about how using the wrong one can ruin a furniture assembly project.
Yeah.
Which is a specific kind of nightmare, and how we use these words to create emotional distance.
Emotional distance? I'm not sure I follow.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You can use grammar to push people away or pull them close. It's fascinating stuff.
Okay, I'm hooked. But to get to the psychological stuff, we have to make sure the foundation is solid. We need to look at the core matrix.
The core matrix. It sounds like a sci-fi movie, but it's actually just a very efficient grid. Everything with these words comes down to 2 questions. How many things are there, and where are they relative to you?
Relative to me. That's the key, right? It's egocentric grammar.
It is. It's all about your perspective. So let's set the scene. We're at a cafe, our standard deep dive location.
I've got my latte. I'm holding it. It's hot. It's right here.
So it's singular 1 cup, and it's near. So you say, this coffee.
Easy. But you, sitting across the table, you're drinking an iced tea. I want to talk about your drink. It's still 1 drink, but it's physically separated from me.
Right. It's in far territory relative to you, so it becomes that tea.
So the invisible line is basically my reach. If I can touch it, it's usually this. If I have to point or, extend my arm, it's that.
Generally, yes.
Yeah.
Now let's pile on the snacks. You're hungry, so you have 2 cookies on your plate.
I do love cookies. So now I'm dealing with plural 2 items, and they are near. So this becomes these cookies.
And then I look over your shoulder at the display case behind the barista. There's a whole tray of muffins fresh out of the oven.
Okay. So plural and far. So that becomes those muffins.
Okay, so that's the grid. Near plus singular is this. Far plus singular is that. Near and plural, these. And far and plural is those.
That's it. If you lock that logic down, you are correct 90% of the time. But, and there is always a but, the problem usually isn't that people don't know the rules. It's that in the heat of conversation, the brain misfires.
Oh, for sure. The learner's trap. I catch myself doing this when I'm excited or speaking too fast. Try to mix and match. You end up saying something like, can I see this things?
Yeah. It hits the ear wrong immediately, doesn't it?
It bumps. It feels clunky.
That's because you have a collision. This is singular. Things is plural. They're fighting for dominance. In English, we need what linguists call concord or agreement. You could pick a lane, either this thing or these things.
It's a matching game. But there's another trap that I think is even sneakier because it's not about grammar, it's about sound.
The pronunciation trap. This is huge.
On paper, this and these look distinct. But when you're speaking quickly in a noisy room, they can sound almost identical if you aren't careful.
And that leads to confusion. Did he say bring this chair or these chairs? The distinction relies on 2 things, the vowel length and the vibration.
Let's break that down. Start with the singular this.
Okay, this. It's a short, crisp sound. Think of the I in hit or sit. This. It's quick.
This. It stops abruptly.
Exactly. Now, compare that to the plural these. It has a long E sound, like in cheese or please. But the real secret is the end of the word. It has a buzz.
These.
These. Yeah, I can feel that vibration in my throat.
That Z sound is the tell. If you don't buzz that Z and you don't stretch that E, people will think you're saying the singular this.
So this is a snap, these is a stretch.
Perfect way to put it. And while we're on pronunciation, we have to issue a public safety warning about the word those.
The dose warning.
Please, I beg of you, do not say dose.
Pass me dose shoes.
It sounds like you're asking for a medical prescription. Dose is an amount of medicines. Those requires that tongue between the teeth, the sound. Those.
It rhymes with nose, not dose. Precisely. It's a small thing, but it's one of those markers that immediately elevates your English from just, understandable to natural.
Okay, so we have the grid and we have the sounds. Let's take this out into the wild. Because we don't just sit around pointing at charts. We go shopping.
Shopping is the ultimate laboratory for demonstratives. You are constantly making these split-second decisions about near and far.
And what's cool is how efficient it makes us.
Yeah.
We don't have to keep repeating the nouns. I don't have to say, I like this handbag, but I do not like that handbag.
Right. You just use them as pronouns. I like this, but I don't like that. The word becomes the object.
Let's play this out. I'm in a shoe store. I'm holding a boot. I'm turning it over, looking at the price tag. I turn to you and say, what do you think of this?
You're holding it. It's intimate. It's yours right now.
But you, being the voice of reason, you point to the very top shelf, like 12 feet away. And you say,
I think those are better quality.
see, that creates a physical dynamic. I'm focused on the here and now, this, and you're directing my attention outward. Those.
And notice the body language. You can't really use these words without moving. If I say that one, I'm almost certainly pointing or nodding or looking in a specific direction.
It's a package deal. The word plus the gesture equals the meaning.
Exactly. In fact, if your grammar is slightly off, let's say you panic and say this when you meant that, if you are pointing enthusiastically across the room, people will still understand you. The gesture creates the context.
That's a relief. The point can save the grammar.
Usually, but not always. There are situations where pointing isn't precise enough. And this brings us to the IKEA test.
Oh man, the friendship destroyer. We've all been there. You're building a flat pack wardrobe. There are 500 pieces of hardware on the floor.
The tension is high, you're sweating.
I'm holding a weird L-shaped bracket and I say, where does this go?
Singular, near, clear enough.
You are sitting on the floor with the instruction manual, looking at a pile of screws. You need a specific screw. You point vaguely at the floor and say, hand me that.
And disaster strikes.
Because hand me that implies one specific thing. But I'm looking at a pile. I grab a bolt. You scream, no, not that. Those.
And then suddenly the distinction between singular and plural isn't just a grammar rule, it's a difference between a sturdy table and one that wobbles forever.
It really highlights how these words function as filters. When you said those, you were telling me to look for a group, not a single item.
Exactly. It narrows the search field, not that one singular thing you grabbed, those, the plural group next to it. Precision matters.
So if you want to save your marriage while building furniture, master your demonstratives.
It's cheaper than therapy.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting to me. We've talked about physical space, coffee shops, shoe stores, piles of screws, but we use these words for things we can't touch too.
Yes, this is the advanced level.
Yeah.
We map physical distance onto mental distance. We treat time and ideas just like objects in a room.
I love the concept of mental proximity. Let's look at time first.
The rule is surprisingly consistent. This is for the present. The now. That is for the past. The then.
So if we are at a party and the music is good and we're having a drink.
You say, this party's great. You are inside the experience.
But the next morning, when we're recovering on the couch.
You say, that party was wild. It's over. You've distanced yourself from it. It's now over there in history.
There's a subtle example I've noticed with movies. You walk out of the theater, the credits are rolling, you step onto the sidewalk, you turn to your friend and say, I really enjoyed that.
Yes. Why not this?
Right? I mean, I just saw it.
But the experience is complete. It's a finished package. By saying, I enjoyed that, you are treating the movie as a singular event that is now behind you. If you said, I'm enjoying this, it implies the movie is still playing or you're still sort of sitting in the emotional feeling of it.
It's a tiny switch, but it changes the timeline completely.
It does. And we do the same thing with ideas. This is super helpful for anyone who has to give presentations or, explain things at work.
Oh, the pre versus post explanation rule.
Right. Think about the direction of your words. If you are about to introduce a new idea, you use this, listen to this, or this is what I mean.
You're pulling the listener closer. Come here, look at what I'm holding.
Exactly. You're setting it up. But once the idea is out there, once it's been said and understood,
Yeah.
you kind of push it away with that. Oh, right. That is what I meant.
That's it. That's right. It's like a stamp of approval on a finished product.
Perfect analogy. This opens the box. That seals the box.
I feel like I'm going to be analyzing every conversation I have today. But there's one more piece of mental proximity that I think is just the coolest part of English storytelling. The narrative this.
Ah, yes. This is a rule breaker, but in the best way.
So normally, this means near me. But when people tell stories, especially funny or intense ones, they start using this for strangers.
Yeah.
So I'm standing at the bus stop, and this guy comes up to me.
Now, logically, that guy would make more sense. He's a stranger. He's separate from you. But by saying this guy, what are you doing to your listener?
I'm dragging them to the bus stop with me.
Yes. You are forcing the listener to stand right next to you in the memory. You're making the stranger immediate and present. It creates vividness.
It's intimate. If I say, I saw a guy at the bus stop, it's a report. If I say, I saw this guy at the bus stop, it's a story.
Exactly. And conversely, we use that to emphasize emotional distance or judgment.
Oh, like, I don't want to go to that restaurant.
Right. Even if the restaurant is right next door. By using that, you're emotionally pushing it away. I don't want anything to do with that.
Or, I don't like that attitude.
Ooh, yes. That's a classic parenting line. You are identifying the behavior and pushing it as far away from acceptable as possible.
It's really wild when you think about it. We're using 4 little grammar words to map out our entire psychological world.
Yeah.
We sort things into close, good, current, and far done, rejected.
And we do it unconsciously. That's why mastering these words helps you sound so much more fluent. You aren't just pointing at objects. You're signaling how you feel about them.
So let's wrap this up. I've covered a lot of ground, from coffee to IKEA to psychological warfare. What's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think it's twofold. First, trust the grid. It's your safety net. Near versus far. One versus many. If you get confused, look at your hands. If you're holding it, it's this or these. If you aren't, it's that or those.
Simple, practical.
Yeah.
And don't forget the sounds. This is short. These is buzzy. And those is definitely not dose.
Please, no medical prescriptions.
And the second takeaway.
Play with the distance. Once you know the rules, start noticing how you feel. Use this when you want to bring an idea or a story closer to your listener. Use that when you want to finish a topic or distance yourself from something.
It's about control. You get to decide where things sit in your universe.
Exactly. You are the sender of the GPS.
I love that. Well, we certainly hope this deep dive helps you out and that you'll remember that advice next time you're speaking.
Smooth. I see what you did there.
I try. Thanks for listening. Keep pointing, keep speaking, and we'll see you in the next one.